What's up guys, this is Alan. In today's episode I'm going to be telling you everything there needs to be known about pruning trees. When to prune your trees, how to prune your trees, and everything else related about pruning your trees, to include the 4 main reasons why to prune them. So if you want to find out what they are, make sure you stick to the end. Alright guys, let's go ahead and get started with the reason number 1. Why to prune your tree? And that is going to be fruit and flowering. Some plants out there require to be pruned. Or actually, they don't require to be pruned, but if you prune them, they're gonna give you more fruits, like this grapevine right here. I have this grapevine growing all the way around my chicken coop, and I don't know if the grapes are still hanging there. Nope, they're gone. Oh, I got a few baby ones over there. But in general, grapevines flower on new growth. In order to promote new growth, what you do is prune them. So the more you prune the plant, the more you are going to encourage the plant to grow more branches. So the more branches you have, the more flowers you get, and guess what? The more fruits you're gonna get out of your plant. So that's going to be number 1 reason. Just like fruiting, some other plants, if you prune them, they will flower more. This one right here is a yellow bell, and they usually like to flower on new growth, as you can see right here. So the more new growth you have, the more flowers you're gonna get. Now, is this required? No, it's not required, but a lot of people like pruning their plants to get more fruits and more flowers. And the reason number 2 is going to be shaping your tree. Some plants require to be pruned in order to actually retain a certain shape. Some people like a square canopy, some people like a round canopy, and the only way to achieve that is by actually pruning your plant. So a lot of people out there get ornamental plants, bushes, hedges, and all of those, and the only way to keep them shaped and nice looking is by actually pruning. This is a grapefruit right here. This right here, it's not its natural look. This has been pruned to look this way. For one, citrus in general, they are bushes. They are not trees. So in order to get a single trunk, when they're little, you gotta cut the branches until the tree gets older, and eventually it will stop growing branches on the bottom. But you gotta prune it. Number 2, this tree right here naturally does not have a round canopy. Its canopy, it's usually naturally, it's all over the place and goes all the way down to the ground. But as you can see, the canopy on this one is round because I prune it this way every single year, or at least every other year. Now, there are going to be some specific requirements you need to follow in order to prune citrus. And I will tell you those as soon as we get done with all the reasons why to prune your trees. The third reason is going to be containment reasons. So let me show you. This is my little ruby fig. This fig has a name. It's called the fig that couldn't. Back in the day, I sold a fig to a customer, and it was during the winter time, so it looked like a dead stick. Well, the fig in the spring was not waking up, so the customer sends me a text and he tells me that something's wrong with his fig. Something is going on. It's not waking up. Well, all my figs were waking up. So you know what I did? I just told him, dude, just bring it over. I'll give you another one. Because, you know, it's just better to do that than to argue with the customer, because, you know, sometimes the customer is always right. But anyways, guys, so you know what I did? He brought his fig over. I gave him a new one. He was happy. And what I did, I put his in the ground, and this is what it looks like several years later. Now, the problem is I did not prune it last winter. And this is the entrance to, this is the walkway to my house. And as you can see, when people come here to deliver packages, they run into my fig. And I don't want to offend somebody. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to have anybody get hurt because a leaf is going to touch them. I don't want to get sued, guys, so I have to prune it. So I'm going to contain it in that area, and I'm going to be cutting this section off right here. So that brings us to when is the best time to prune your plants, and how do you prune them, and everything else about it. So while I'm pruning it, well, I'm going to tell you all about that. All right, guys, so while I get ready, let's talk about when is the best time to prune your plants. Well, that depends on the reason that, why you're pruning your plant. So if you are pruning for fruit production or to get flowers, fruit production, well, it depends on the plant. If you have a deciduous plant, like this fig right here, they go dormant in the wintertime. They don't feel anything during the wintertime, so the best time to prune them is going to be during the wintertime. But as you can see right now, it's not winter. So, but I need to prune it. For this reason, I'm only going to be pruning what I have to prune. Now, if you have evergreen plants, you can prune those usually early spring. Do not prune them during the winter time simply because some plants will actually become sensitive when you prune them. And even though they didn't take damage in the winter time, after pruning they may take damage, and well, that's not good for your plant. So my recommendation if you have an evergreen plant is to prune them early spring, right before the summer hits. You never want to prune in the middle of the winter for evergreen plants or in the middle of the summer. Now for the deciduous plants, like this fig right here, best time to prune is going to be in the winter time when they're asleep, or like I am, when needed, well, whenever you need to. So that's why this one falls under reason number 3. So that brings us how to prune your plant. Well, that depends on the reason. Are you trying to shape your plant? Are you trying to just get it out of the way like I am? For me, I'm going to wait until this next winter to fully prune this plant, to shape it. But for right now, I'm just trying to get the branches out of the way. So, but let's say you want your plant to get really bushy. You want it to be short, but super bushy on the bottom. So what you do is, any branches that are pointing up, like this one right here, anything in the middle especially, you want to cut everything. Just cut it. What that will do is, it will actually encourage the tree to branch out on the bottom. You will get more branches. And you keep doing that every single year, and that's one way to actually keep your plant smaller. And then they will branch out more on the bottom and you will create a bush. Now let's say you don't want a bush like this fig right here. Maybe you want your fig to look like a tree. Well, at that point, what you do is you trim everything on the bottom. Or pick 1 or 2 or 3 main trunks, and then everything on the sides and everything close to the ground, you cut. What that will do is, it will encourage your tree to grow taller. And the more you cut on the bottom, the higher and the taller it's going to grow. And that's how you create a tree. And that method will work with most plants. Now for me, I don't care. For me, I'm just trying to get these branches out of the way. But eventually, this upcoming winter, I'm going to be taking everything off on the bottom here because this plant is just getting too big in this area. I guess all that fish emulsion is just making this plant grow like crazy. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to be taking everything off in the, on the bottom, and then just, I'm going to keep it as more of a tree-like. Simply because, well, I guess it's just too big. When pruning your plants, there's really no specific way to prune them, but if you want to have the best outcome, I'm going to show you. So let's say you want to create a round, even canopy. And, well, whenever you cut your plant, have a purpose. Don't just cut it like I did over there. So over here, you can see notes right there, right? You see that's a note there, that's another one there, that's another one there, that's another one there. Anyways, so what you're going to do is, you're going to find a cluster of notes, like a circle. It goes around the branch, like this one right here. You see there's one note there, there's one there, and then there's another one down here. You see? Okay. And right above that, there's another cluster too. You see there's this branch right here, this one, and then there's one back here. So let's say you want your plant to branch out right at this point right here. So what you do is you cut it right there. And what that will do is it will make everything in this area grow out like a little cluster. And then it will create an even canopy if you're looking to shape your plant. Now, if you don't really care, like me, what will happen is you're just going to get branches wherever they come up. But if you want to control the branching, you find connecting nodes all around the branch and cut it right above it. Second part of reason number 3 is going to be root pruning, which is part of containing your plant in a small space or in a specific container. So let's say I'm growing Java plum, jamun, I'm growing sweet bay leaf, bay laurel, and I don't want it to grow any bigger. I want it to stay in this container forever. Well, that's not going to happen naturally. You cannot contain a plant in a container just by controlling the container size. It requires maintenance. So one way to actually keep this plant in this container is to root prune. You take the plant out of the container, you chop the roots all the way around, and then you put it back into the same container with fresh potting mix. But you cannot just do that without pruning the canopy. So anytime that you root prune your plants, you always have to prune the canopy. I always recommend about 25%. In extreme cases, 50%, but you have to cut the canopy down. Because if you don't, the root system supporting this canopy right here is no longer there. So your canopy is going to die back because, like I said, the root system is gone. So to prevent dieback, you want to cut it. You want to prune it to preserve energy. And that brings us to reason number 4, and that's going to be for safety reasons. I know a lot of you guys, like I have planted trees in the ground, and later on you regret what you put them in the ground, like that little ruby fig that I put in the front. And the reason why is because we don't know everything. A lot of the times when we put trees in the ground, we don't look into the future. We don't see what the trees will look like once they get older. So usually you may plant them close to your house, close to driveways, close to anything, and then they're gonna get too big and it's gonna become a safety issue. Either because the root system is too invasive, or the plant is simply just too tall, and then if it gets too windy, the branches may break and fall over your house or somebody. Like this pine tree right here. This pine tree is probably about 100 feet tall, easily. Now, a few years ago, we had strong winds, and that side right there, it was a second branch. It went all the way up there. It completely broke in half and fell over. So, you know, that's a safety issue, because if somebody's over there, if you got a branch fall on your head, you're dead. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go up there with a bucket truck and I'm gonna cut it. I'm probably gonna bring it down at least, I would say, I don't know, 50 feet. Yeah. So that will make the pine tree actually branch out on the bottom, get a lot bushier. It will also make it stronger, so that way it can withstand a lot more wind. But imagine if this pine tree was right next to your house. So that's a safety issue. You need to prune your plants. And usually most people do not realize that until the tree is too old, or you just bought a house and they just never did anything about the plants they had. In my area, I see this happening a lot with people planting around pools. They put trees with very invasive root systems, like deep roots or tap roots, around pools, because the plants, you know, grow well, they do great, they provide shade, but once they get older, it's a problem. And if you don't take care of them, they will damage your pool, or sewer system, or water lines. So there are a bunch of reasons why you will have to prune your tree for safety reasons. So citrus have a specific pruning requirements. While you can prune them anytime you want, if you want fruits, you have to follow this simple rule. So you pick your fruits. You find out when it's ripening season, when the fruits are supposed to be picked to eat, and when flowering season starts. In most areas, it's going to be spring. So this grapefruits right here, usually for me in my area, they start ripening at the beginning of the year. Usually late January to around February time, they start ripening and you can pick them and eat them, right? But the problem is, this plant right here will start flowering in March. So if you want to prune your plant, there's a very short window to prune it before you cut off all the branches that are about to flower. So you prune citrus in my area right after you pick your fruits, but before they flower, if you want to preserve your fruits. Yes, you can prune them afterwards, but you have to understand, if your plant started flowering and you prune it, well, you're going to be cutting your flowers off, you're going to be cutting your fruits off, because citrus take usually almost a year to ripen. So if I wanted to prune my citrus, guess what? I'll be pruning all my fruits off. Some plants have specific pruning windows. You just gotta find out which one yours falls under. As always, if you have any questions, comment below. If you need specific help, if you need to get a hold of me, one-on-one help from the garden master, well, join my Patreon, guys. Unfortunately, I'm not able to help everybody out there because I get tons of emails, phone calls, messages. I just can't get all of them. But if you need one-on-one help or just have a quick question, join my Patreon. Not only will you be supporting my channel, you will also be supporting the environment. As always, if you like the video, don't forget to like it. And if you haven't subscribed, shame on you. And I will see you next time.